All right, guys, this is Eric from Indie Invasion, and we are back with an interview. It's been a little bit of time since we've done an interview, and my partner in crime, Mac, is here with me, and we are here with Dwight, who is going to talk about a game that he has in production. It's a project that you're working on called High Noon. So, welcome, Dwight.
Thank you.
What? Now wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now this is a cowboy game. You can't just say High Noon. Yeah, I mean you gotta be. Hey, this game called High Noon.
You want me to put on my cowboy voice?
Bring it.
Give you a
yeehaw! There you go.
That was a fun tooting yeah.
That was
High Noon approved.
High Noon approved. Well, you don't get much better than that.
No, sorry, Bob. I'll tell you what.
Well, I'm excited about this because we actually. So I didn't know anything about your game, Dwight, and we were connected through our inevitable supplier of all things gaming, Alan at Discover Games. He was the one that you had been speaking to, and naturally, as soon as he started talking with you, he had to message me and go, "Hey, Mac, you should probably get this guy." So, and then the ball started rolling from there. So I'm excited about it because obviously we can't find every game as hard as we try. And we do try pretty hard. I mean, we do try pretty hard to do that.
We try. And, I actually remember, Dwight, coming across your Kickstarter. It was last spring, I think it was. And I remember instantly I clicked, remind me, because it had the Western theme. That's all that you needed to show me, basically, is a Western theme, and I was already in.
Would have been nice to have a zombie too. A zombie would have. I mean, he would. If you had a $10,000 pledge, he would have backed if it was zombie cowboys.
Look, of course the headphones are starting to die as we start. Hang on a second.
Naturally.
If you listen, if you guys. And you guys watching this can make this campaign a success. One of our very next rollout expansions is called High Fever, and that's our zombie co-op survival where we take main characters out of this game. Like you pick your posse just like in the game. We'll get into it, I'm sure, but you pick the core character, the main character, instead of the whole group. And so every player plays as this main character, and you guys are all kind of stuck in this town, and you have to work together to survive. At the same time, trying to backstab each other,
naturally. It's the zombie apocalypse. That's what you do, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I do like the co-op though, because I like to play a lot of those games with my kids, and doing co-op, I don't feel as much like I'm just trying to crush their souls while we're playing a game that's co-op, which is why we play Zombicide. But
great game.
Oh yeah, it's real, and it's a great gateway game, and it's a really good. I know it sounds weird to say that. Oh yeah, Zombicide's a great family game. Everybody sit around the table and watch your character get eaten alive, kind of thing. But it's really a fun family game.
For the whole family.
Yeah, because you can play together, and so my kids are hyper competitive. So you got to be on the same team. Otherwise, you're like, okay, we're not playing anymore because Candyland. You don't have to be this competitive.
No, Candyland is life.
Candyland is life. Well, we have a long-running joke on the show. I hate Candyland. I cannot stand Candyland because I will play anything else. Anything.
Yeah.
But Candyland, because a child wants to play Candyland for 14 hours straight.
True.
And I'll be honest, I haven't played Candyland since I was a kid. So
you are blessed.
I don't even remember it.
You are blessed. You are blessed. Well, let's dive in because I really want to find out more about High Noon because I don't know that much. I know the little bit of time I've had to be able to sit down and watch some of the videos, which you guys can go check out too. You can search High Noon board game on YouTube. I was going to throw a link up there, but it was one of those links that said YouTube/XYZ1435LZP. So just search
That's my favorite link. That one right there. That's the one. That's the best video. That was the best video.
I know. That was the one I committed to memory. But just search High Noon Board Game and you will get it. And you go ahead and subscribe and you'll get all the updates for everything that's going on the game that Dwight and crew throw up there. But Eric, why don't you start us out with some of these questions, man? Let's find out about this game.
Before, I'm gonna take this off and try to plug the thingy in.
Okay, so plug the thing in.
Yeah, okay, here we go.
Go ahead, plug the thingy in. We shall be entertained while you do so. We shall be entertained while you do so. But while you guys are doing that too, don't forget that Discover Games, you can always pop over there because Alan is our supplier of all things gaming. So he will fix your addiction as well. And as always, remember to go check us out on our Podbean podcast at Indie Invasion on Podbean. A lot of cool stuff going on over there. As a matter of fact, just this past Friday, we uploaded 13 episodes. That is an awesome look. That is perfect. I think you must have a character in High Noon that looks like that.
Well, yeah, I know which token character that is right there.
No, we got no audio. That's all right. Rambling is something that we do quite well anyway. So are you there yet?
Oh, there we go. There we go.
It was the button on the headphones.
There it is.
A bunch of old guys trying to figure out technology. If we had been 14, we'd have had it like that. It would have been no problem.
Is this demon magic?
That's right.
People got going on.
That's right. It's this magic. So so we're super excited, but like I was saying, we just put up 13 new episodes just Friday on the podcast. So 12 new audio stories and a new actual podcast episode. Got a new audio story series going on. So get over and check that out and follow us on Podbean and you can stay current on everything that we're throwing up there. But now on to High Noon. Eric,
we want to find out more about High Noon and you, Dwight. So just to jump off some general questions, we tell the viewers and people are watching or listening to audio, how did you get started in the world of gaming? I mean, what was your gateway?
As a kid, I always played Risk. That was my game. Okay. And I don't know, like it was just, we didn't have the internet back then, right? Like, I mean, we all know. I mean, we were at least of the generation that when we were kids, that did not exist. So if you had friends, like that's what you did. You got together, you played board games. And being in Florida, you got a lot of hurricanes, so we were pretty much that's what we had to do. Like, the storms would come in, power would go out, flip on a candle, and play some Risk. Let me do something. Okay. This is really
been there, done that. Done that.
That got me into Risk, and then when Axis and Allies came out, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, it didn't come out, but like when I discovered it, I was like, it's like Risk, but your guys can go in the water. It's crazy.
It's Risk on steroids
in the water. So that kind of like broadened my horizons to like what could games be. And then, several years later, I came across Risk 24 or 2210 or whatever it was. And it was like, oh my gosh, it's Risk, but different. And so then that kind of like, it was like at that point, like the world, like it was endless. It was boundless. Games were boundless. And then I remember playing my first game of Dungeons and Dragons as a child. And, I came from a very Bible Belt family. So they were 700 Club, Dungeons and Dragons is a gateway to demons and all this stuff. And so I didn't, I didn't play it forever until I was like with some people and they're like, oh no, you don't have to go fight demons or be a demon. You could be an innkeeper and just feed people. And I'm like, huh. So I remember that was the gateway that got me into role-playing games. And the rest is history. I love games. I love the being sucked into the world that you're in. And it's just like your imagination goes wild.
That's funny because once again, we kind of have an invisible ticker off to the side every time we ask that question. And Dungeons and Dragons has been mentioned every single time. And
a lot of it, I think, is that whole aspect of world building.
Yes.
D&D is like the first game like a lot of our generation was exposed to, that whole world building.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, Dwight, about discovering these games, it's like your world in gaming just got bigger and bigger and bigger each time you discover this new fantastic game.
Yeah, and I was watching some videos and documentaries and stuff as I was building High Noon, and it just seemed fitting that it all came full circle, because like the history of Dungeons and Dragons, as I understand it, was actually a war game rather than be the singular character. It was like you were controlling massive armies, and if I recall correctly, there was I don't know if Boot Hill came first.
I love Boot Hill.
But there was like cowboys are like in and all that. Like that's ingrained in the history and origins of these games that forged my childhood into gaming, which then has led me to make a Western. So it's I owe it all to that. Thank you, Guy Gax in the sky.
That's right. Well, hey, that's funny that you mentioned Boot Hill. I loved Boot Hill. I loved that game. We used to play it like crazy, man. And I don't think I've ever, except for the couple people I played with growing up, I don't think I've ever heard anybody else mention it. So kudos to you, sir. You sir, are special. You are special.
That's what Daddy used to say.
Now, so in all of those things that you played, also, I just want to know, do you have every single iteration of Risk, like 40K and Snoopy, and because you kept saying Risk a lot?
I have a problem. I have a condition. Now, I actually started collecting Risk games as they would come out, and so yes, I have like a whole closet full of Risk games that nobody will ever play with me. I will never play. I just buy them for the box art at this point. I just bought Risk 40K.
Oh, did you? Okay.
40K. Yeah, just last week I was at the game store. I didn't even go for it. I was going to buy like card protectors for like $2. I went for a $2 purchase, and I'm like sitting at the register. I'm like, do, and some stores put candy bars. They put Risk, and there was, and I bought it. So
and everyone that will listen to this is going to nod along with that, going, "Yeah, that happened to me yesterday too." So, of all of those games that you played, and through the time that you were playing games up to you creating High Noon, what was your all-time, hands down favorite game? I gotta have a sneaking suspicion I might have a guess, but what was your all-time favorite game out of all of those?
Man, Risk is right up there, but the thing is I can't say that it is my all-time favorite game. If I had these games lined up, dang, it's such a wide question, because it's like, how much time do I have? Like how much time do we have to play the game? If I have 2 hours, and then who am I with? Who am I sitting down with?
Whoever you want, and as long as you want.
Geez, goodness gracious. Well, I'll tell you this. Risk.
Risk. That was it.
I've Lord of the Rings Risk was really rock solid, and I really enjoyed that because I felt like I was really in Middle Earth. But the best Risk that I up to now, I haven't played 40K Risk yet. I played StarCraft Risk, which was really cool. But I think the best Risk experience that I had was the Star Wars Risk, not the clone prequel, but the one where you could play as the Empire, the Rebels, or the Hutts. Okay. And you had like the Empire had their little floating Death Star, and it could just blow up planets and create like these impassable asteroid zones by blowing up planets. And their whole objective was to wipe out the Rebels. The Rebels' whole objective was to find and assassinate the Emperor, which they could do by attacking like different flagships, I think. And then the Hutts, their whole thing was like, forget you guys, we're just going to build criminal underworlds everywhere. And like that. So you really feel like you're manipulating the universe of the greatest trilogy of the Star Wars, saga.
Right.
So if you can get your hands on that one, if you don't, and anybody out there is watching, that one is a trophy. I lost. I didn't lose. Well, yeah, I lost. I don't know who I loaned it to. And then I was talking to a friend of mine on a stream, and I was like, I wonder where that is. And I found one copy on Amazon and got it for like $60, which is unheard of. It's usually very, very, very expensive. But if you can find it, grab it.
All right.
The steal.
Risk Star Wars.
All right.
Duly noted.
Dwight,
where's my pencil? Hold on a second.
Tell us a little bit about what inspired you to create the game of High Noon in its setting. I mean, was there like a string of games? It kind of sounds like there's certain games that kind of influenced you in a certain way, but I mean, what inspired you to say, hey, I want to make this, tabletop skirmish, tactical game set in the Wild West?
So it was a pretty linear thought process. And so speaking of Star Wars, there's a game called Epic Duels. It is out of print now. It is a phenomenal game, and that's why I was like, I was torn between Risk or Epic Duels, because Epic Duels is a game that you could just keep playing over and over and over again. And you play a 45-minute game, but then you play another one and another one and another one. Before you know it, you can play for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
I was looking for it. I found myself looking for my copy. I couldn't find it, or any of my Star Wars miniatures. Womp womp. And so I went online. I saw it was like $200 for a copy. I'm like, I'm not paying that. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm never gonna have that again. And then I was standing, and then flash forward a couple months later, I'm standing in line, and I like every periodically, I'm like, oh, but I really want it. I really want it. I don't want to spend $200. And so like I would have that sporadic thought, and then a couple months later, I'm standing in line at a Walmart checking out when I have these random thoughts, and I'm like, beep, and I'm like, oh, I really want it, beep, but I don't want it, beep. And as I was spending $200 in groceries, and then I was like, wait a second, why don't I just make the game? Why don't I just make it again? Beep. But I can't. Beep. I can't make Star Wars. Beep. I don't have a license for that. Beep. Oh, what if I made it as something else? Beep. And so then I was like, well, what else could there be? I'm like, oh yeah, there's no cowboy games out there. Like they exist, but they're not like, there's nothing really out there that really grabbed my attention.
Right.
And certainly nothing that you could just sit down and play. Like that was the great thing about Epic Duels was it's not like hours to piece things up and organize them. Like I think there's a game, I forget what game's out there, but like the going trend right now with Kickstarter games, and people love it, so I'm not trashing it. It's just not for me. Is it takes like 3 or 4 hours just to organize the stuff when you get it.
No, I'm with you on that one. I have no interest in that.
I'm out, and then there's games where it's like it takes you an hour just to set up, and I'm out of that too. Like I'm out of all these things. Even Risk. If you're with somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing, or somebody who plays 8D chess, and just tries to think 20,000 steps ahead, just placing your guys, they'll sit there and they'll be like, no. Yeah, and you're like, come on, I just want to play the game. So the thing about Epic Duels was you open the box, you pick the guys you want, and you put them on the board. You don't choose where they go. The board tells you where they go, and then you play. You draw cards and you play. You were literally playing within 3 minutes. And that's what I really wanted. I really wanted a Western game. Like at that point, I'm like, okay, let me skin it as something. And there's no Western game that I know of where you can just pull out your guys and you're off to the races like that.
Right.
And so that, and I know somebody's watching this probably going, oh, there is. It's gun shoot and roll and play, like whatever. I don't know that game, So that's that was the line. That was the inspiration. I wanted to play Epic Duels again, and kudos to the guy, I forget the creator of it. I didn't recreate Epic Duels. I mean, it's an entirely own game, but the mechanics and the things that make, like the philosophy behind what I just said, like just take it out of the box, sit down, start playing. You can be 9 years old and play just as good as somebody who's 40. That's what is great. That's what I love about this game, and that's what I loved about Epic Duels, and that was just kind of the evolution of that.
Well, see, I personally think there's an enormous value in games like that for a lot of reasons. One being, obviously, you can just grab it out of the box, throw it on the table, bam, you're playing. But like you said, with the 9-year-old, for gamers with kids, which I mean, a lot of people have kids.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity, those kind of games, to play with your kids so that they don't just become video gamers. Not that there's anything wrong with video games, but my philosophy is video games don't say no. And you got to teach them how to play a board game and any of those kind of games. And those kind of games are good gateway games as well into the more complex, the deeper games, the hobbying aspects of the game and things like that.
That's what we I developed this game with my best friend. We sat around the table and played hours and hours and hours of broken versions of the beta version until we made it right. And the whole, throughout, we would have these conversations, these long philosophical conversations about what is it that we're trying to do. And exactly to that point, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create we called it's a gateway game. Yeah. It is designed to be a game that you can bring anybody to the table who, it's especially designed to be played with somebody who's not really all that into board games or doesn't understand them and doesn't understand the beautiful universe that is board games. You asked me the question early on, like, how did you get started? Well, I started with Risk, and then it blossomed into this, what is this universe of games that I'm in? And I was just at this store that we were talking about where there's just games across the wall and you can just pick one. You're like, ooh, which one? I feel like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. It's amazing. I want to sing
because it is.
It is. It's amazing. And even still, even like when I'm sitting with him and his kids, there are nights where they're like we'll pull out a game and it looks intimidating to them, and they go, you know what, we're just gonna go play some video games. I mean, this happened last night. We pulled out Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride has 2 pages. That's its instruction booklet. It's 1 page folded in half. And even that looked intimidating to the kids. Now, in reality, Ticket to Ride is matching colors. You might as well be playing Phase 10 or Rummy or whatever, but you got little trains and you move around. It's not complicated at all. We mastered it right out the gate, and they could have had a great time. They could have had I think it's fun for the whole family, but you got to get into the table. You have to get them to sit down. And if they check out right away, you're done. And so that's really what we created High Noon for, is to be that kind of game. You just open the box, you pick your guys, you put them on the pieces, and you just start playing. And any kid can learn it. And as you said, any family can sit down and have a great time and say no.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there, buddy. I like the way you think. All right.
So shut me up if I start rambling and making no sense whatsoever.
Oh, no.
Sometimes I have conversations with people and they'll be like,
yeah. No, listen, all you have to do is go listen to the banter section of any one of our podcasts. And
perfect.
Rambling is something that we excel at.
It is sweet.
It is the staple of our show, the core, if you will.
I'm in good company. All right.
Indeed. Well, I don't know about good, but we're all right. as Mal would say, we're all right. We're not good guys. We're all right.
We're all right, guys.
For High Noon, obviously it's a Western. Tell us about the setting of the game and a little bit about how it works.
Wait, hang on a second. That was a Firefly reference, right?
It was a Firefly.
He goes, we're good guys.
A good man wouldn't.
All right.
He was so
good man. Yes. He's the duel. The duel.
A good man wouldn't kill you, and he just stabs him in the shoulder. He goes, "I'm an okay guy," and he stabs him, and he goes, "All right, I guess I'm all right."
God, what a great show! I mean, what a great. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So we know it's a Western, but tell us a little bit more about the setting. What kind of a Western is it, and a little bit about how the game works.
Sure. So the setting starts as traditional Western. In truth, the game that is launching on Kickstarter is the starter set. Okay. It's a box set of 4 posses, so it's good for 2 to 4 players. And it's traditional West. You've got your cowboy. You have cowboys and Indians. You've got your lawmen and the bank robbers, and a group of Rough Riders, and a small war band of Native Americans. And each character has their backstory, whatever. It's really cut and dry. Like the characters themselves, they have backstories. I don't get into them in the box itself, but if anybody wanted to peek into the lore, they could. But it's very, very flat. As expansions roll out, we just inch outwards. So you start having you start going into the spaghetti westerns. So you start having a lot of those. We pay homage to a lot of the archetypes of the Sergio Leone films.
Just tell me you paid honor to Lee Van Cleef.
Oh yes, no, we actually
okay.
Yeah, I would
because I know everybody wants to say Clint Eastwood, but my all-time favorite scene is with Lee Van Cleef and Clint Eastwood shooting it out in the street where they're shooting each other's hats off.
Yes, actually, so there's so let me just show you some pieces. So one of the and actually the Lee Van Cleef character is the leader of that posse, because if you recall, he made the deals in few dollars more.
Yeah, few dollars.
So this is the Lee Van Cleef character, sorta. His name's McCat. I'm sorry, it is out of focus, but there he is with his super long pistol. So he actually has a longer range than other people, right? And then you've got your other guy, his dude that's with him, and then of course they face off against I call him Montaña Azul, but there he is.
Oh yeah. Tell me somebody's holding a watch. Tell me somebody's holding a watch.
That's him. That's there's his little watch. Yep, there's his little watch. He's got he's holding his holster like he's drooped over his chest, right?
That's great.
And so, it's just like tongue in cheek at that point. It's a tongue in cheek posse, but he actually Van Cleef's character has a card called "Hats Off to You," and it's a defense card. So when somebody attacks him, he attacks them back. And it's kind of to kind of pay tribute specifically to that scene. They all have those two posses have a lot of cards that speak to that those films, because it's a love letter to them in my take. So you have the Cowboys branch out. Eventually the Rough Riders, there's a group of raiders, like Southern Raiders, called the Bushwhackers. So we expand out there. Then we introduce the characters slowly get a little more colorful. So we have a group of hillbilly moonshiners.
Yeah.
And so there they go, and they come in with shotguns, and it's three brothers, the Jenkins brothers, and so this is the eldest brother, Jethro, and Jonah. And they have shotguns, right? And so they're blowing through stuff. And then their bigger brother, Clifton, and what he really does is he introduces a different play style entirely. One of like a lot of melee, a lot of brute force melee. A lot of his cards are inspired heavily in wrestling. So you really get a feel for just a WWE style duke 'em out with him. And
he kind of looked a little bit like Hillbilly Jim.
Yeah, he's I don't know why you get that impression.
I don't know
why. Yeah, so we have so the characters slowly get expand out of there. Then they get a little weirder, but still within the realm of believability. So you have an inventor, and he basically discovers wireless energy, but then he loses his patent to the guy he's working with, and so he loses all of his money because the guy basically patents his own technology. So he basically gets really upset at society, and he sees that they're all greedy, and he becomes like a super villain. And so he becomes like he's a zone control kind of character. He starts laying these towers, and these towers zap people. And the more towers he lays, the more control he has over the battlefield, and the more things he can do with them.
Gotcha.
But all of his power is drawn from his lab where his generator is. So if you can get to his generator and shut down his lab, then he is completely powerless. So he's very much like a supervillain in that way, that he has a critical weakness, and if you can exploit it, you can beat him. But that's for somebody who likes to play like some kind of character like that. We have a politician character who, all of his cards, his special abilities are like, they really play the table and not the board. So he basically can assign tasks to other players to get them to do his bidding. So if you feel like you're a good politician, if you fancy yourself a politician, then this is a posse for you. But you got to bear in mind that like his characters that are go with him, they're only with him because he's paying them. So if somebody kills him, they quit. So in this instance with Monko and McCat, if one of them dies, you still got the other one.
Right.
With the politician, if he dies, you lose because the other guys basically essentially like leave. They're like, I don't have a job anymore. So you use your political favors. And if you're good with politics and everybody likes you, you're going to be okay because your objective, where everybody else's objectives is like get points at the end of the game, and they get points in gold. And I'm going all over the way of this game, by the way. But
that's good.
The traditional way of winning the game is have the most gold at the end of the game, at the end of 12 rounds, or be the last posse standing. Well, the politician, he's running for re-election, so everything that he's doing is getting votes. And so he doesn't even so he actually gets gold for free. Like every turn he gets gold. And he can use that gold
of
to
course
buy
he does.
Yeah, because he's the governor. He taxes people.
He voted for himself to get that
That's
gold.
right. It's his raise. And so he can actually then use that gold to buy votes, because he's a politician. Or he can use that gold to buy players off, to pay them off, to do his bidding. And so as his tasks are being done, as people complete those tasks, he's getting votes for that as well. So it's like it's a careful balance of you playing along with of this politician's bidding. But if you're not good at politics and you're just a jerk, and you're just throwing favors everywhere, go, ha, 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 backstab everybody, you have no defense cards. Like your character sucks in combat. So anybody if the table wants to kill you, because you're a terrible politician, just like a terrible politician, you will get voted out of office really darn quick. So all these different things are play styles, and then eventually we go into a little more colorful areas, but again, still sticking with the realm of possibilities. So we presume that while America is growing, the empire overseas in the Orient is going through its own crisis. It's going through its own civil war. And so the emperor in the Orient, when he hears that America has discovered gold, he's like, I need that for my war effort.
Well,
so
of course you do.
Right? Because that's, an army travels on its gold, is something Napoleon said or something. And so he sends an envoy to make peace with the Americans, so he can establish a trade route with them, a trade relationship, so he can get their gold. And so he sends the greatest swordsman over there. And so the greatest swordsman is like this he's the best swordsman, but he's like super young and cocky. So he's like, I'd go alone. And they're like, no, you have to go with an envoy. Like, you have to be protected. And so he's like, I don't want anybody. So the emperor's like, fine, I'm going to take this disgraced general who, he's lost some wars. He's either going to commit seppuku or whatever, or, he could do this to regain his honor. So you get your little samurai general, and he comes with a couple of samurai. And so what you're going to have is samurai fighting cowboys, because in this fish out of water scenario. And this is for people who like to play in melee. They like to play close combat. They like to get up close to enemies rather than shoot up. So up to this point, and there's a lot of characters in between this. There's a lot of posses between this that are just pew, pew, pew. But eventually we roll out the swords. And of course you can't have samurai without ninja. And so, so then we have the ninja come in. We've got, I want to make sure I don't break this tray full of characters. We have I don't know how weird this looks on your camera.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's the best. There you are.
There I am. So I also pay tribute to another little known. People are starting to discover who he is, but they don't really know who he is. They just know his name. But I call him Father Franklin, the Pine Box priest. And so he's this dude. He walks around with a coffin, and he's a one-character posse. And so he basically walks around with this little coffin, and then when he's where he wants to be, and he wants, and this is where he wants to dominate, he deploys into
the machine gun preacher.
Yeah. So this is paying homage to a little known film called Django. And
nobody's heard of that.
Nobody knows. Franco Nero, he's a beast. You may have known him in other films such as Die Hard 2, but this was his finest. This was his peak. So we go there. We expand out. We got samurai, ninjas, cowboys, and then we start to have some spinoffs, because I'm really trying to grow out a comic series. And so there'll be like little mini episodes. And so, for instance, the inventor guy is an episode. He's a villain that the sheriff has to put down.
Right.
There's an episode where there's a alien spacecraft that crashes, and these aliens are trying to get some stuff to get on the ship to leave, and so that releases a posse that's gonna be aliens. There's actually a posse that comes from the future. It plays back to the Emperor. What happened to the Emperor after all of this stuff, and in this era, what happened hundreds of years in the future after that, or thousands of years, and these characters come back in time, and so you have these cyborg cowboys, right, and these cyborg ninjas and stuff. We've got werewolves, we've got vampires, we've got angelic cowboys, demonic cowboys. It's a whole gamut. Like it really gets weird. But the thing is it's as weird or as straight-laced as you want, because all of these are expansions that you can choose to have or not.
Right.
The core game is Cowboys and Indians.
Yeah, and I like that because it does give the individual the opportunity to create their own narrative. If you want to play that Sergio Leone and that's it, you do that.
If you
want to see the man with no name go up against an alien from X-Files, you
be my guest. This is for you, baby.
Right.
And all we're really trying to do is show the mechanics of the game engine. All we're doing is introducing the game. How would these characters interact in this game engine? And then at that point, our goal is to have something that's so well fleshed out that people can see this and go, what would be a really cool posse is if it was this character and this character and they did this, and we go, that's great. There's an app for that. Go to town. Nice. And then we provide them the assets to create their own characters, their own cards, their own assets. We have people in our community right now on our Discord server that are doing just that. And the ideas they come up with are just brilliant ideas.
Yeah, that's how, and I'm excited. Now, you do have gameplay mechanic videos on your YouTube channel, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we have playthroughs.
So, I want everybody to check those out. And can you tell them real briefly just dice, cards, measuring sticks, squares?
Yeah.
What is
none of that. Yeah, none of that.
Nothing.
Yeah, no. You basically just say what you want to do and you just do it. So you have your character. You have a character. Each character comes with a character sheet. Looks something like this. It has all the stats that are important to the character. So it has how fast they go, how far they can shoot, what they're shooting, how much they're worth if you kill them, how many items they can carry, what faction they belong to, and their health. They start here, and when they start up here. They start off the screen. When they take 1 damage, they start here, and then they work their way down to dead. The characters move across grids like this. Okay. And we use it. It's just forward, backward, left, right, diagonal. Okay. So there's no crazy lines. Like you don't count squares. There's no counting of. I mean, there is a counting of squares in the range. So the range is so this guy, his range is 10, so he can shoot up to 10 squares straight or 5 squares diagonal. Because each 5 it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's that's a diagonal. So it's very simple. It's made to be very simple. The cards themselves, and by the way, these are all, everything I'm showing you is prototype, right? None of this is actually the actual card. So there's like messed up cuts and stuff. But each posse comes with its own deck, its own card. And so it'll have backs for them. There's 2 types of cards. You have basic cards and special cards. And this is where the epic duel stuff comes into play. So basic cards have, they have an attack value and they have a defense value. So he has an attack value of 3 and a defense value of 2. So let's say, and at that point, it's just simple math. So let's say this person was attacking somebody and they play this card, and it's an attack value of 3. And this person plays a defense, right? And he has a defense value of 3. So 3 minus 3 is 0. So guess what? He successfully blocked it. Those are called basic cards. The other cards you have are special cards. And what they have is they have like a nice little illustration, a description of or a title, and then a description of what they are. And if I come in, and it tells you how to play. It tells you when to play. So this one says, play anytime. This is play anytime. So you don't have to play it on your turn. You can play it on somebody else's turn. It says detonate a loot crate. All characters around the loot crate must defend against 5. and then you remove the loot crate. And so that's a loot, and so that's basically made for like people who are running up to a crate to get stuff out of it.
Right.
They basically boop, blow it up, and that person, hey, surprise, you didn't get anything, and you're gonna have to defend. Loot crates is really where this starts taking a life of its own. They look like this, little squares, and they have little icons on them. So we have decks of cards that are loot decks, and you would basically draw from a deck that matches this item. And what you would do is you would draw 3 cards. Those, I didn't pull them out here, but they're basically, you're going to draw 3 cards and choose one and discard the other 2. And what that's kind of simulating is you are in charge of your own destiny. You didn't pick 3 things out of a crate and be like, I don't need all these guns. Blah. It's really like, this is the one thing you actually picked out. The other 2 didn't exist, but you get to decide what that one thing was.
Right.
And then you just put it to the side of that character that looted it, and they have it. Now, these items could be guns. They could be ammunition types. They could be armor. They could be, coffee beans or, snake oil, whatever. It's all different items, and that's what gives them an edge in the game. And that's pretty much the game. Like
the game works basically through scenarios. You sit down to play, you pick a scenario to play. Is that how it works?
No, not out the gate. Or like right out of the box of the starter set. It's just straight up. It's like I said, last posse standing or first to 12.
The most gold at the end.
Yeah, first to gold. Yeah, most gold in 12 turns. But what happens is every character has their own tile. So like I showed you this tile, right? This is just terrain. This is a terrain tile. So the game actually comes with 4 of those. It also comes with these, which are starting tiles. So every starting tile is different. This is the jail. So this is the tile that the lawmen come with, and it shows you where they start. So right there it says sheriff, and right there is the deputy. Right. So when you put this tile down, you're going to put the sheriff and the deputy where they go, and that's what goes. Now, what happens then is somebody else goes around. You just go around the table and be like, okay, this is here. I'm going to put this here. And then, another board there and whatever. And so you build the town however you want, and then you go to battle. So no board, very rarely is a board ever the same to even play the game.
Well, I can already see what's going to happen with those terrain tiles with me, because you sold me on the game with your spiel. So I don't even need to hear your elevator pitch now, because that was it. But I can already tell you what's going to happen with the tiles for me. They won't be tiles.
You're going to make terrain.
Oh yeah, it's going to be 3D. I'll build every one of those tiles.
And I would love to see what people come up with. There's people who are already talking about kit bashing the miniatures, and I think that's great. The miniatures that are going to come in the core game are made of PVC. So actually, the material, and I did this because I want these to be child-proof. These pieces here are resin. And they will most likely be some sort of plastic. And if you drop that, it will break. It can break. So this is a character. This is Kiyiya. He comes in the core game, and I had the factory make him out of PVC.
Yeah.
So you can do this all day long, and he doesn't break. I can chuck him, and he's fine. Yeah, he's fine. He actually landed on his feet. I can show you.
There you go. Not only is PVC unbreakable, but it'll land on its feet. That's
but when it comes to,
I was aware of with it, but it's good to know.
He's like a cat. But when it comes to so just so you know, there is a stretch goal that will happen in the Kickstarter campaign. There is a future of High Noon that is not flat. It's in our plan, and it's going to be like you're going to have buildings, you're going to have things out there. But just so you know, in our universe or in the release, how we're doing it, it's very much like 2D, 3D hybrid. There's a game called Core Space. Have you ever heard of it? I'm sure.
Funny you should mention Core Space.
Don't get him started.
Don't get me started.
So we're gonna be releasing upgrades to your buildings and terrain that's gonna be very much like that, like puzzle pieces. And again, the reason why we want to do this is because we want it to be very easy for kids to get involved and spend time with the family. Putting puzzles together is kind of fun, and so that's what we want to do. And we're actually going to introduce when we do that, we're introducing a system of mounts, a mount system. So you're going to have horses and wagons. A lot of people are like, "Where's the miniature with the horse?" We're not releasing a miniature with a horse. We're releasing puzzle pieces that you put together, and they're going to make a horse that your guy can go on. And then we're tapping into another space there where it's going to come in like a card pack, like a blister pack, like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon cards, and it's going to have one horse in it, and you don't know what the horse is. It could be a wagon, it could be whatever. And so it's kind of like a collector's card effect, where it's like, you want to collect like the Arabian horse or the Clydesdale or whatever.
Oh, so you're going to have everybody doing the Pokemon booster pack junkie thing.
Yes. Gives me your monies. It's cash grab. Not gonna lie. But it's gonna feed into the style, the art style, which is a very it's 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional puzzle stuff. That's going to exist for everybody out there. And then for people who are just completely cray like Mac here, we will not frown on the beautiful creations. As a matter of fact, please share them with us. That gives us joy in what we do.
Oh, rest assured, I will share. Rest assured.
So long term, Dwight, you kind of gave us a little bit of a hint of what's in store for the game, like in the future, with building on through expansions, getting in some of the sci-fi, or expanding on the game itself. But overall, where do you see this game going, like in the future, like bigger than just the Wild West?
Right. So we shoot, I'm with you guys. It's not like this is going to go public or anything. So the first, our objective with High Noon is to introduce the mechanics of what I call the white label system. And that's really what we've developed is a game system called the white label system. And so the system is, it's the combat, it's the cards and the loot, it's it's the characters and how they break down, it's how ballistics, ammunition, and factions and all these things work. It's also we're going to introduce a role-playing element, an RPG level up element. That's for people who want to play role-playing games. There are scenario-based games. So we have a King of the Hill style game called the Battle Wagon, which is about.
Now hold on, is that King of the Hill like Boomhauer style? The dang old things are gonna come over there, or is that not Boomhauer style King of the Hill? Propane accessories.
It's not about king. Oh, I'd like to hear about propane. No, it's actually another tribute to John Wayne film called The War Wagon. And
that's what I figured he was going.
So it's called the Battle Wagon, and it's like what if because I think in the War Wagon, spoiler alert, but the War Wagon doesn't survive. So it's basically like what if that War Wagon, or in this universe, what if something like that happened in this universe and it was just abandoned because the battle happened and it went off a cliff and it's gone. And so basically all the factions are trying to get to this completely destroyed war wagon that has a Gatling gun on top, and it has a safe full of gold inside. And so your objective is to get into the wagon and either open the safe and get the gold, or defend the position using the rotating Gatling gun. And so we actually, this guy, Father Franklin, introduces the mechanics for rapid fire weapons. So he's the guy, and this is the thing. All these posses introduce expansions. So there's another posse called the Bendero Blondes, and they're basically these girls, and they're like former prostitutes, freed prostitutes, that their starting tile is a bordello. But the whole point of that is they have a platform, and they shoot down from it, and so it introduces elevation. Okay. So, and these are all mechanics, right? So all these things are going to introduce mechanics. We're going to grow out from there. We ultimately go to we have an expansion that introduces posse building, so you can choose which characters you want instead of having to do
some customization with it.
Right,
okay,
right. And then from there, you can buy other like standalone guys that you can add to your posse. So we start encroaching into that territory of like the Warhammers and the the BattleTechs or whatever, and eventually we roll out the army building. And so there are battle packs with just massive armies. And so High Noon, you start to see not on this space of just a couple of tiles, but you see across massive tables, maybe covering a whole convention center, where there's this epic war between the Makwa and the Chahota Nation, and the Legionnaires and whatever. You have it's an army, it's a battle. From there, once it's all done, we plan to release a whole line of the game rethemed. And so we have a Buccaneers version we're going to call High Seas. We have a modern day cops and robbers called High Crimes. There's a space version that we're going to call High Orbit.
Okay.
There's a military.
I'm seeing a theme here.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Mac, you're crazy. Don't listen to him. We're gonna have a military called High Caliber. We're gonna so it's no, that's the theme. And once we flesh that theme out, there's a 2.0 of the label system, which we moved to hexes, and it's more of a crew control. Where you have vehicles or vessels, and you have crew on the vessels and do stuff. It's an entirely different game style, but it carries with it some of these mechanics. So that's where we see High Noon. It all rests. It lives and dies on the success of this Kickstarter. But I hope people can kind of catch the potential to carry it on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So of all of that giant list, now this is our stumper question, and always is to game developers.
Okay.
Favorite faction or character in High Noon?
You jerk.
You are welcome. It's not the first time I've heard
your one
comment.
child.
Man. Okay,
Yeah,
so
who's your favorite child?
Favorite faction? I mean, or favorite
character or character, doesn't matter. We'll give you the option of either or both.
Man, let's see. Yeah. It's funny is everybody has a favorite. I think I'm gonna have to say I have been crushing it with the Jenkins brothers. Right now, because I've not yet played, I haven't had a chance to play or play test Yoshiro. I think my favorite is going to have to be. Oh man, this guy. This is here he is. So this is Sitting Bear. He's the chief of the Makwa warriors, and we have not yet introduced the other rival nations. But Sitting Bear, I think, is my favorite because his posse really it brings in a lot of other mechanics, and it also introduces he has a pseudo melee. He introduces a couple of things. He introduces martial arts with he has tumble. He's really inspired by The Last of the Mohican. So he can roll through. Hence his club weapon, if you can.
Yes,
but he's got that club weapon. He can tumble through guys, and he comes with this is a Kondo. He has these javelins on his back that he fights with, and so he has kind of a short range that he can fight with. But he basically grapples people, trips them. He does a lot of he introduces really martial arts.
Okay.
And then he can also throw that javelin. And then their final one is Morocco, and Morocco is the Makwa medicine man. And so he's essentially the support. He provides buffs. He channels the spirits to give his posses strengths, attack strengths, defense strengths, and he can also heal them. He's a healer, and he can do it to anybody. He can heal anybody who he wants, who wants to be healed. So it's a really colorful posse. I've never won with them. I've never gotten a lot of gold with them. They're not a big gold posse. And again, this speaks to what is it that you're trying to play? What are you trying to accomplish when you play this game? If and anyway, I love how they play together. I love how they interact together. So I think Sitting Bear's Warband is the go-to. So I will take that trophy off your shelf.
So you like the story that posse tells?
I love. That's the thing is I tried really hard to make sure that the posses play to their story. So his whole thing is. In the core game comes with and guys, stop me if you're getting bored. But you saw Kiya, right? If we run out of time, so you saw Kiya. This is Kayataka, who's inspired kind of from a similar movie, and this is Elsu, and these brothers. Their story is that the Chahota Nation was this like really prideful, like really I don't know, really, really good, great tribe. And over time, as you know, the white man starts colonizing or whatever, they start encroaching on the territory. Now they're pretty peaceful with the Makwa. They don't like attack them and kill them, but they also don't have to because they have all the guns. And Sitting Bear is the chief. He's actually the chief of the Makwa, and he can see it coming a mile away. Like he knows about the wars they've been going on with. There's these rival tribes that make up what's called the Chahota Nation, and he's seen what these people do to them. Like the Chahota are super crazy warriors, and they're getting their face wiped clean by these these white devils with their fire cannons. So he realizes like this is not something that I want to. Let's not fight. Let's not do this. We're going to lose that. So when the Civil War happens, he's like, oh, I don't have to fight them. I can just let people. I can let them fight each other, and I can house whoever I want. I can just play both sides, and that's what he tries to do. And throughout this whole thing, like the Makwa, especially Kiia, who you saw, is not feeling this. And Elsu, who's the young son, is not feeling it. These are young guys. They got high on testosterone. They're ready to fight and stand up for their people. And here's their father who's like, no, we got to be smart. And it just happens that every time Sitting Bear makes a pretty wise decision, it just happens that like bad things happen. And so eventually they house, like for instance, they house some of these raiders, these bushwhackers, and they start to have their way with some women that Elsu discovers, walks in on it happening, and so he kills the raiders, and so Kiia helps him cover it up, and he's like, listen, your dad's gonna find out about this. But you can clearly see this is not working out. We got to stop this. We have to be like ghosts in the field and scare the tar out of these people and just make them realize this is not worth this is the cost and benefit of moving into our territory, not worth their time. It's a fool's errand, but Elsu believes it. So they run off and they do that. They form this little war band and they just go and they just terrorize the countryside. Well, they didn't announce it. They went on and I know I'm going off on the story, so I apologize, but okay. They didn't announce it. They're just going on a hunting trip and they just never come back. And so after a month or two, the mothers of these children are like, where are our boys? And so eventually word starts coming back, especially about stuff Kiia is doing, because he's a berserker. And so like people are like, and they're saving Makwa people, but he's so, especially him, he's so violent when he does it that they don't even like the Makwa that he's saving don't even believe that he's a human. Like they're like, this is not a human being. This is a cyclone person. This is a mythical cyclone person. And so when word travels back and it hits Sitting Bear is like, cyclone people aren't real. I know. Morocco believes in it, but I'm not so sure I do. And he kind of puts two and two together. Our sons are off fighting a war. And so he's like, no, I'm going to go get my boys back. And so Sitting Bear is Elsu's father. Akondo is Kiia's father. And Morocco is Kayataka's father. So they're the three fathers coming after their three sons. And they carry with them a bit of the cadence of the young sons, but with older experience. And and their whole play style plays to that. It's very reserved, calculated, and I don't know, more wise, I guess. But at the same time, they walk on that field and they're about to wreck somebody's day.
So now that's a whole lot of lore. Is there somewhere people can go to read that, or is that not available yet? Or
it's not available yet. We're gonna, when we launch our website, every character is going to have like a breakdown. But even then, it's going to be up to the person to like kind of read all the characters and piece it together. Be like, oh, that's that because that goes to here. Okay, these things tie together. Ultimately, like I said, what I really like to do is package this all into a comic series. And really tell this story, really tell it in the soap opera it's supposed to be. Yeah, so that's where it will be. It is highnoongame.com when it launches.
When it launches, highnoongame.com.
So what is there when you're not working on High Noon? Are there any other games that you like to play to kind of relax? I mean, you mentioned Ticket to Ride last night. I mean,
Yes, yeah. So I bought Dune Imperium for my best friend Rad, who's again, like I said, he's been working with me on this game. He loves Dune. I mean, when we first met in 7th grade, seventh grade. Listen, 7th grade, this kid was telling me about the Bene Gesserit witches and the Kuzat Satarak, and I'm like, I put Legos together, like this is a pirate, He's all like Arrakis, desert, the Dune, the desert planet. Like,
the spice
melange, the spice must flow. My lips or whatever it is. And so when the new movie came out, and I mean that was like the first movie we watched together was Frank Herbert's, and so when the new one came out, he was geeking out about it. And then I saw on some gaming boards that like people were saying Dune Imperium is so great, it feels like you're in the world, and I was like, I want to get that for him. I want him to experience that. So I bought it for him for his birthday. We finally got around to playing it. The first time it was a bust because my God, the instructions were a nightmare. But I watched a sit down and was not sit down and shut up, but watch it played maybe. I forget what it was.
Yeah. He does
He teaches how to play it. So 30 minutes later, I'm like, okay, I kind of got it. We've now played this 2 times in 2 days, and I can't stop thinking about it. It is cool. Like he was like, I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm Paul Atreides. I'm like, yes. So that's those are my games right now that I'm escaping to.
Okay.
All right, I might have to check out Dune Imperium now too.
Oh, it's great.
Golly. Dang it. All right. So what's on your hobby desk? I don't, as a developer, I don't know if you're a big hobby guy, but what do you have on your hobby desk? Like, are you painting anything? Oh, what's a hobby desk? Are you painting anything, building anything, putting cards in sleeves,
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I've been painting all of my minis. I actually just painted the last posse that I can play with. I got one posse left that doesn't have a deck yet, so I can't really play with them. But I've painted everything else. I've spent the last, I don't know, year doing that. The thing, it's really tough because, before I got into this, my hobby was video games. My hobby was, and I really didn't even have time for that, So now when I sit down to do something that has nothing to do with High Noon, my brain is like, what are you doing? This is time you could be making High Noon right now. So my hobby desk is painting the minis, and I justify it by saying I need these painted for promotional photos.
Of course you do. Yeah. Of course you do. We support you fully in that endeavor.
Thank you.
Of course.
I live on your approval.
I kind of figured you did. I figured you did. All right, Eric, what's that last question you got for us, buddy?
Well, Dwight, do you want to tell listeners and watchers where they can look into High Noon? Do you guys got Facebook, website? I think you're on Discord, right?
Yeah. So we've got a official High Noon game page. We have a High Noon official group. I don't know the links to these offhand, but if you just look up High Noon game,
we'll try and find them. We'll post links in the video.
Yeah, I'll have links in the description on YouTube.
If you go to highnoongame.com, that's our canceled Kickstarter campaign, and in that is a bunch of updates. And I'm fairly certain that every single update provides a link to the group, the page, the Discord server, and the YouTube channel. We love people getting involved. We love people getting in the conversation. We love hearing what people like, what they don't like. The group itself we created just for people. I hate that we called it High Noon Official Group. I wish we would have called it something like We Love Westerns or something, because it's become people think that it's just like a bullhorn for High Noon updates, and it's not. It's for people who just love or have an affinity for Westerns and stuff. And so if I would love for people to just jump in that group and just start talking about Westerns. If you love Westerns and you love just connecting with people who love Westerns, the High Noon Official Group, that's what we created it for. In the Discord server, we've got, it's not really super duper active, but if you want to talk to me, that's the quickest way to get to me. And I do respond to just about everything that's posted. As a matter of fact, I do respond to everything that's posted. And there are actually links to creating the game. You can actually play High Noon. You can play High Noon right now for free on Tabletopia. It's not a great version of the game, but it is there. But almost like not all the expansions, but a lot of the expansions and tiles and stuff. Like we even have the forest. We have an expansion of tiles that are just like forests and rivers and stuff. You can play with these and get familiar with them and find out what posses you like. You can play all this stuff for free through our Discord server. You're going to need a Tabletopia account. You can get that just online for free. Again, it's free. But if you go join our Discord server, there's a link in the creator join channel, and just copy that link, and you can play with your friends. You can play with,
it's
by
a great
yourself.
way to get exposed to the game before you guys relaunch it to Kickstarter, to kind of get a feel for how the mechanics work and the posses and stuff. That's cool.
And if we're talking about hobby, like if I'm playing a game and I'm not playing Dune Imperium, if I'm at home and I'm playing a game, I'm playing High Noon, and I'm playing High Noon online with people who want to learn the game.
Right.
So if if you're watching this and you're like, yeah, I want to learn about this game, I would really love to play it. I'd love to play with you. And this is something I don't know if there's any other. I'm going to toot a horn here. I don't think there's any other campaigns out there where the campaign creator or the game creator actually will sit down and play the game with the general public. I do that almost daily. So if anybody is watching this is like, this guy's not a complete, jerk face, I'd be happy to play with you and show you the ropes, teach you how, teach you strategies and whatever. I'm gonna rake your face the first couple of rounds, but I'll teach you strategies and stuff to rake your friends' faces.
Exactly. So you're prepared. Okay. So before we get into our sign off and our goodbye, I have one personal question from me. Is this so for characters? Are you going to have any characters from Louis L'Amour? Because, I mean, if you like Westerns and you like to read, if you haven't read any Louis L'Amour, have you read any Louis L'Amour?
I feel like I'm completely embarrassed right now. Louis L'Amour?
He is only the greatest Western novelist to ever walk the face of the
American
earth.
Novelist and short story writer. His books consisted primarily of Western novels. However, he also wrote historical fiction. Tell me a character that he
started. So he probably his most famous is the Sackets. He created
the Sackets.
Okay. That is Louis L'Amour. So he started them with when they first came to America and then spread west. And he's got, I think there's 20 plus Sackett novels.
Yeah, that was. I remember those as a kid. Those are way too epic for me.
Oh no!
And I was like, that's Quigley. That's Matthew Quigley.
That's right. Louis L'Amour was in fact quoted as saying that Tom Selleck was born to play the Sackett characters that he wrote.
I believe it.
Because he just fit the role so much.
Yeah,
that was just my suggestion. No.
So I try to pay tribute to characters when they're like, okay, so I try to pay tribute to as many characters as I can. So for instance, and I don't even care where they come from. So like this guy. Like people are like, so this guy is actually, there's a movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's called Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Oh, and so this is Tucker or whatever, or Dale or whatever. It's totally him. As a matter of fact, I didn't realize I was going to be so close to being him when I sent because I sent artwork. I sent his shot to my artist, and I was like, think like this guy. This is kind of what I'm looking for. And he basically just drew the guy. I was like, okay. So I was like, I'll lose that in the translation when I send it over to the 3D artist because he's never directly on point. And then he like nailed it. And I was like, okay, you know what? Tucker's in my game. So I try to it's a lot easier for me to introduce characters like that when they can introduce a style or something that makes them unique. This is not a game where it's like just throw guys on the board that have guns and they go pew pew.
Sure.
Every character, every posse has a very distinct play style. So I was actually on the table. I had all my posses out the other day after I painted them because I'm like, yes, my little children. and
we know that feeling.
What I noticed was like I was surprisingly way fewer cowboys than I was than I thought. Like in my head, I'm like, I know I have more cowboys than this. Maybe I'm missing a posse. No, I have them all here. And it's just because like you get to a point where a cowboy is a cowboy. Like what is something that cowboy does that that I could translate into a card, that I can make that into a special ability. So for the Sackets, I remember it's a very epic story. I just don't know how I could translate their character.
Well,
I mean, I would put
whether they make it or not for your own edification. Might I
go ahead.
suggest
Please,
you
educate me, please. Educate me, please.
Order a couple Sackett novels. Just order a couple, and just for your own entertainment, purely. They don't even have to. Don't listen to me about the game. Just read a couple of them.
I'll tell you what. I'll do this. I'm gonna because you brought it up. Because I got this guy here, okay? And everybody, this is Grizzly Greenwood. And everybody goes after Grizzly Greenwood. They want to play Grizzly Greenwood because he comes with wolves. And they're like, "Ooh, dogs." Right? And I'm like, "No, he has a wolf pack. And they are very deadly. But he's a trapper. He's a fur trapper. He fights big animals. And he traps them. He's a hunter. And so his cards are very much designed as a hunter. And he makes it his cards make it so nobody wants to move. Like people are terrified of their next move because every time they make a step, he's like, "Oh, bear trap," and he's the one that initiates it, right? And so that's what that. So I'm going to dive into the set. I will read the Sackets. And I will figure out a posse, and I will.
It is worth it. It is good reading. You're close enough. I actually have all of his westerns. It's like 60 plus books, and just come borrow one. You
guys got a show coming or an event coming up, right?
Yes, next month, 26th and 27th.
And I think I'm coming up. Am I still invited?
You are always invited. So
okay, well I'm going to put on a bandana. And I'm going to be like, "Give me all your books."
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So anyway, Dwight, thanks so much. I'm actually really excited about the game now, particularly because it sounds like something I'm going to be able to play with my kids, which is huge for me to be able to play games with them because most of the stuff I have is too complicated for them right now. But it's something that I'm kind of excited to check out for sure so that we can play with the kids. Plus those tiles, I want to build them because I like to build things. So I want to build them. But again, thank you so much for taking some time to be with us. We really appreciate it. And we will do everything we can to get the word out on the game because we love to support the independent game developers. That's what we're all about. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute honor. And
an honor. Oh, man, I have to polish my head. I feel so good about that one right there. A little shine on there. But for everybody out there listening, thanks for spending some time with us. Don't forget that if you are available and close, February 26th and 27th in Beaufort, South Carolina, we will be having CoastalCon 2021. You can check us out on our website, which is kind of weird, coastaltex.com. We are not in Texas. That's because there's a construction company called Coastal Construction, and we couldn't have the website. Unipolar Games will be there as well as Discover, and they will be selling product. We've got a couple of other vendors that are going to be there. We've got several games going on. Always head over to the podcast. You can listen to it on Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, iTunes, and a whole bunch of other ones that we didn't even know existed. But apparently we are on them, which is
they're
cool.
Floating on the internet.
Which is cool. We didn't even know they existed, but there they are. And you can shoot us an email if you are aware of any independent games that we should talk about, or if you are a developer and you want to come on the show or tell us about your show, you can get us at indieinvasion@gmail.com. We've got our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and our newest Discord channel. And we also jumped on Rumble, so you can check us out there. I don't even think we have a link or a banner yet. That's how new that one is. And you can always support the show. One of the best ways you can support the show is to tell a friend about it so that they can listen to what we're doing. We have tons of audio stories that are always going up on the podcast, and we post pretty regularly, about once every 2 weeks.
Find out about new independent games that we discover, like High Noon,
Yep.
that, you know, to get out to people. So
yep, because that's all we want to do is share that with everyone. But share it, follow us on Podbean to stay up to date. And also, if you are so inclined, you can pop over to our Patreon and you can back us on Patreon so that I can buy some new headphones. That's our running joke. I don't know what I'm going to say when I finally buy new headphones. I'm not going to have. I got nowhere to go after that. I just need headphones.
Get a new shirt.
Oh, a new Indian Invasion shirt, maybe another color. But you can check us out over there. Now you can check out all of our content that we post over there. All of it's free, so you don't have to be a Patreon to do that. But if you do back, there are a couple little perks. Nothing too crazy, but there is. What is there that you have, Eric, that you can potentially get as a Patreon? You have it right in front of you. A sweet Indie Invasion coffee cup. Now, if you just want to buy one of those, go over to Unipolar Games. They do all of our branding stuff. They do our t-shirts. They do CoastalCon t-shirts, Discover Games. They could do High Noon stuff. You never know what's going to come out of Unipolar Games. So check them out. They'll be there as well. And as always, guys, remember when you're out there playing your games, having fun, to prepare yourselves for the invasion. We will catch you guys next time.